Hey guys, here is the gear. We've got the same Zenith B35. It's a sub-exclusive brush from our Wetshaving, a Reddit group that I'm a part of. And it's the big 31mm Zenith bore knot. I've just shaved with it once. Today's going to be the second shave with it. I'm going to be using the final cut from Yaqi, provided to me by the wonderful Michael Friedberg. Tortuga is a black ship grooming soap that we'll be using today. And Personna, we're going to keep using the comfort coated, which we believe are the same as the lab blues. I've already got that blade out. It looks like this. And I had somebody comment that they looked at their own lab blues and they had this exact appearance as well. So that's kind of further confirmation. This guy's got, I don't know, 7 or 8 uses by now, 6, 7, 8 uses. So he's still fairly young for me, maybe old for some of you guys. This is a used soap that I got in a box of different soaps. The scents that are listed on the side of the container: florals, lemons, mango, ozone, and amber. Guess what that's supposed to be? I wouldn't have guessed right. They combine for an after storm scent. Now with that in my brain, yeah, you know, I could kind of see that. I think they do kind of accomplish that. It's got some liveliness. It doesn't have anything super punchy. But yeah, you can definitely smell the citrus, the lemons. Can I smell any mango? Yeah, probably hints of mango if you tell me about it. My nose is not really good at picking up mango, so I might not have pulled that out blindly. Any ozone? If it's there, it's just a hint. Amber? No, I'm not really picking up the amber. Yeah, definitely some kind of floral, but it's not a dominant floral. He's playing nicely with the other ingredients, maybe even taking a slight back seat, and I'm all for that for most florals. So Tortuga, I believe that means turtle in Spanish, right? And I believe it's an island, you know, like maybe in the Caribbean, and of course they're going with the whole pirate theme. I tell you what, I've had some black ship soaps that were kind of that old school type. They really posture up with structure and almost a dryness to them. And they bubble up and foam up really easily. And then sometimes it's difficult to push a lot of water into them and still have them stay creamy. And it's that old school model, kind of chiseled face OG. Tallow does that as well. The old Strop Shop is something that comes to mind that does that too. It was a common formula back then, several years ago and longer, and a lot of people copied that same style. Coconut oil is the first ingredient. Shea butter is next, then stearic acid, potassium hydroxide, water, glycerin, fragrance, and essential oils. All right. But then I've also had, and I think it was 7 doubloons. I can't remember exactly. I've also had another one from Black Ship that was a whole different lather. It embraced that creaminess, and I was able to achieve that really wet creaminess easily with that particular one. I don't know if they changed soap bases. I don't know what happened that was different. But the coconut oil is actually why I chose this soap. Number one, because I hadn't tried this one yet. But number two, coconut oil can be a very drying substance, ingredient. And I want that for this boar brush. I think it's going to help the tips to split a little better. So we're going to take the final cut razor from Yaqi apart, the top cap, and here's the base plate. It's not a premium metal razor. It is it may be brass in a couple of points, but it's definitely Zamac in some different places. Let's set it on a 2. Some razors you can set while they're tightened down, and some you can't, but just to be safe, I kind of always tighten them down after I set them. So there we go, a nice mild setting for this adjustable razor. I've used it a couple of times and it has so far proven to be a very nice razor. $28 is when I believe I saw it on AliExpress at the price point there, and from Yaqi in the Yaqi store in AliExpress. And for an adjustable razor that's it's patterned after the Gibbs adjustable, a French razor that's a while back, and that Gibbs razor is super smooth. This is not as smooth, but it's very nice. And for that price for an adjustable razor, about the only way you could go better would be to go back to a vintage Gillette Fat Boy or Slim or something like that. And they're slightly different than the Gibbs style. And so I think this is a good buy, and I'm very grateful for Michael for making that happen for me. I'm going to load this soap like crazy because, you know, the first shave I had with this brush, it killed the lather. I'm going to load it like crazy so I have more lather maybe in the bowl to come back to instead of having to go to the puck, which if you have a young boar brush, I keep saying this, but don't be surprised if you have to go back to the puck before every pass. Don't be surprised. Get my face wet now. I've used this blade now, boy, across vintage razors, modern razors, butterfly, you know, barn door type razors, as well as you know, 3-piece, and it hasn't been bad in a razor yet. Shake a lot of the water out, and here, let's go. 45 is going to roll around. Now, normally 20 seconds is kind of a go-to amount for me under normal circumstances. Why don't we load for a whole like minute or something like that, just to make sure we get lots of soap for the purposes. And I'm even actually going to turn down here and load above my lather bowl so that everything spills. That's 30 seconds. It's soapy and dripping here. Oh yeah, I can smell that kind of fruitiness coming up there. Okay, 45 seconds. That's very pleasant. Those of you who shave in the morning, I think this one would really fit well as a kind of a zesty start your day kind of thing. Very enjoyable. And that is a whole minute of loading, and I'll show you what's in the bowl in just a second. But surely, right? Surely I won't have to go back to the tub now with all of this that's in the bowl and on the brush. And so I did shave yesterday, and so I should not have a lot of oil buildup. So that part shouldn't kill the lather. With as much citrus in as this one has, boy, you're going to have a bunch of different matching, you know, colognes and aftershaves and things like that. Boy, look at that. That's a, I bet if I had just a brush that had a little bit of water in it, I could shave with this. All right, let me find a clean knuckle. Pause the video. All right, so you saw how the brush picked up the soap that it did, and then here is all the stuff that kind of dripped out of the container into the bowl. So a minute of loading. You can definitely feel plenty of backbone. The brush really kind of resists splaying. I can push it down and kind of easily splay it maybe a quarter of the way. 25%, maybe 20%, maybe less than a quarter a little bit. I can easily splay that much, but then more requires a little bit of effort. I look forward to a more easy splay with some age, not only for the feel of the knot on my face, but also because that will make it easier to hold on to this chubby, it's relatively short handle, thick but relatively short. Wouldn't that be interesting if I mean, okay, look, if your lather does this, look at all those peaks. If your lather looks like this in the bowl, okay, then you shave with a lot drier lather than I do. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just letting you know that you could go a lot wetter than what you have. Here, I'll show you some more. Look at that shelf of lather right there. You can see it kind of jittering almost because it's so rigid. And then we will start adding some water. Off camera there, I drizzled about 12 milliliters into the bowl. I like the other notes. Maybe the mango is helping it to not be only a citrus scent and being kind of boring, kind of typical. Definitely a fruity type feel. And now, with the addition of water, you can see it's changed a good bit. Let's put a little bit more. So a fatty kind of soap that's designed to be skin nourishing after the fact, like a lot of the more modern bases are. SpongeBob made a point in his in his Imgur album about how he thinks that coconut oil soaps, those older soaps that aren't quite as nourishing, he thinks that maybe they might be better for boar break-in because they leave the bristles more dry. And those butters and oils that, you know, are with the newer soaps that nourish the skin, they're not staying on the brush to help it not split, right? If you're lubricative, then it's probably preventing a little bit of splitting. Let me go ahead and rinse this off my face. All right, face feels better now, rinsed. I had this soap, and it was a brand that I hadn't really used before. I got it in a big bulk, and it was a vanilla type tobacco type scent. And I thought, you know what, I need a place to put my Marvy hard soap. And there it is right there. So I thought, you know what, instead of just removing all of the soap in here, because I didn't think the particular brand was one that I was going to gravitate toward and use forever, you know. And so I took a small container and I hooked out a bunch that was in the center, about the size of this soap here. And it was used anyway, so it was only maybe 60% remaining. I put that amount into a small sample container. So I'm going to be able to use that and try it out. And then I took my Marvy puck, because I'm using it as a brush cleaner, that kind of thing, because it's kind of old school. I think it'll be good for the brush. And it's cheap, that kind of thing. And so I just realized, wait a minute, why don't we try? I'll put the Marvy puck, push it down into the soft soap, and then some of the soft soap is, the original soap is still around the sides, and then it's holding the Marvy into place. Now, if you had a totally empty container, you could grate it with a cheese grater, press it all the shreds down in the bottom, and it would fit the whole container, no problem. You can do that with any size container with a hard soap like this. But I didn't feel like doing that, and I thought I'd try this, and so I lathered it up, and I didn't really get down to that other scent, but it can only really help because in this case, the Marvy is not it's not really scented with anything. It's only got kind of an old funk. I think maybe it's an old puck that kind of expired in terms of scent. But now I have a little puck with my Marvy, a little container with my Marvy in it for brush cleaning purposes. It's really not a bad soap. It just doesn't really have a scent. So, and then as I use it, I'll gradually maybe pick up some of that original soap. It will come up into the flavoring. The brush might reach around the corner of the soap and grab some, you know, when I'm loading, and then it'll contribute to the whole thing. All right, let us resume with the water adding. Right now we've added about 21, 22 milliliters. little idea came up with. I said, well, instead of just dumping out all of the soft soap, let's keep enough in there to be a little holder, a stabilizer for the puck. And then it'll also contribute its soapy goodness. It's a tallow soap, so I'm sure it'll... See the way that moves because of all the water we've added so far? That's a creamier, definitely a wetter soap. Now as I press down, when this was drier, the very first time I showed it to you, and it had the peaks and the moonscape appearance, if you notice, the brush was quite wide because this soap wasn't, it was as thick as it was ever going to be, and so it worked its way into the fibers, and so it was causing them to be open. Who knows, maybe shaving with a drier soap than you usually do for a little while might help the new boar to open up quicker. I don't know. It's probably not worth it to me. Now this is pretty, I mean, this is a lot of lather. And so we're going to just use this and see what happens. And then if I need to add some water to the brush during the pass, I'll do that, and we'll see if that keeps us from having to go back to the soap puck. A little bit of water on my face now. And I rinsed off the side of the threads here of the soap, so we'll put away Tortuga. The razor is loaded. Here we go. You can feel the backbone. I'm not trying to splay it, but those tips, the Zenith tips, are just wonderful, and so they are being comfortable right now. They are bending a little bit, and so it helps that backbone not to be quite so vicious. And I'm probably going to do myself a favor and wipe off the side lather from the brush, because when I start adding some sprinkles of water to this brush, I'm sure we're going to start making some even more lather. So for break-in so far, I did a palm lather after about a 45-minute soak. And then, before my first shave, I soaked it. I ended up soaking it for several hours. I didn't mean to, but that's what happened. And then I soaked it for a little while today. This is quite concentrated. Yeah, I'm not going to need to go back to the puck. Matter of fact, I might have a dribble going here. Seems like I'm going to need to add a bunch of water to this, unless I feel like shaving dry. But the bristles are quite spread out, and so it does feel like it's got a larger footprint on my face. I'm able to have it a little bit in splay, maybe that 20-30%, almost like it was in the bowl. This big brush with its backbone doesn't have to be a soap eater. Just depends on you. And here's all this lather we're making by adding water. Nice fragrance. I'm enjoying the scent here. While I wouldn't say after the rain, you know, by just a blind smelling of this, once you tell it to me, then I can kind of see where you're getting at. Maybe if the ozone were stronger, then me to that conclusion without having to be told. Well, I don't really want to take forever to lather here, so let's just use this, even if it means the lather's a little more dry than I might like. And the bowl, you can see on the side there, I'm raking the lather off the side of the brush and off my hand. The bowl is full of lather. All right, final cut. Personna Lab Blue, probably. Comfort coated for sure. Setting number 2. With just 1 day of growth, I'm confident it's going to be a nice shave. You know, I'm feeling the blade a little bit more than I thought I would at a 2. Maybe that's why I had it set at a 1 before. Why don't I back it off? That's definitely its bottom setting. Matter of fact, it almost doesn't even go all the way to the 1. See how it works on this side. So the final cut is more aggressive than the Gibbs, because the Gibbs at a 1 or 2 is much more smooth than this. It's more mild than this. In a way, it's not a bad thing, because a lot of people don't like it as mild as I do, but man, I love to put a blade like a feather or a nasset into a mild setting or a mild razor, and you just get rewarded with these top-notch shaves that are like butter. All right, very nice. A little water now on my face. All right, so we'll dip back in to the huge amount of lather. Charge up the brush. I'll get the trickle of water going like I had it before. Sure, I'll need it. Yeah, this is just a very pleasant scent. And what they did, the mango sweetens up the citrus and makes it just a little more, I don't know, flat. But flat in a good way. Have you ever had a nice color and then you added a little gray to it and you really liked what it did because it just made it a whole different color that almost had a whole different purpose to it? That's almost what the mango is doing, in addition to adding some sweetness. What else are we looking at here? The florals, yeah. The florals haven't jumped out as any kind of feminine as we have progressed through the lather, so I'm happy about that. Ozone and amber. If I look really hard, then I'm guessing that maybe I'm smelling a hint of amber. I might not mind it if that was in greater proportion, but I'm really liking this. Don't quite know if I like this formulation of the lather because I've got it so dry. I don't know if this is one of the ones, and again, I happen to put some lather away into my savings account down there in the bowl. A little bit easier display today than it was yesterday. And this will be the last time I use it. So yeah, using the thicker lather, probably a good idea until this knot gets easier display. Really, that's a nice scent. What am I going to wear with that? What am I going to follow that up with? I don't have anything fruity on hand. I think this brandy spice would work really well with the citrus and the mango. I've got that on hand. Oh yeah, my Lucky Tiger is orange at the core, and so it would go well with this. Who knows? All right, so I guess this is pass number 2. Yeah, I don't need to go more than setting number 1 here with this blade. And as a little reminder, this blade is one that I was very happy to use at shave number 2. It was with whatever razor I chose as shave number 1, it smoothed out noticeably for the second shave. I have mapped my net growth carefully, and so that's why you see me choosing my angles carefully. So I have a little bit of tenderness here on my face. Nothing to worry about, one of those things that a balm fixes in just a few minutes. And also the soothing rinses with cool water, very handy, very helpful with. And so I think I will choose a balm. I have the Scarn on hand. And let me tell you, yesterday when I used the Oud Sigma from Sterling, it has, I kept saying frankincense, but it was really a scent that was, it was cinnamon and pepper and something else. And all those were adding together to be, vetiver, all those were adding together to seem like, and I kept saying frankincense family, so I didn't lock down on frankincense anyway because I didn't trust my nose. But yeah, it was in kind of that spicy family, and I cleared that up after I looked at the description. So Scarn, but it swallowed up the Scarn. It was strong enough to where I put the Scarn on, and the Scarn is just kind of a mild cologne type scent, and it might as well have been unscented. All right, last pass. Yeah, cool water rinse now. So even at setting number 1, the final cut feels a little more scrapey than yesterday's razor, which was the 40s style super speed. And so this is a more comfortable shave for me with this particular blade. I probably could have loaded for a lot less time. I've still got this much in the bowl. It's just, and this is concentrate. This stuff I could put on my brush and I would still need to water it down. And so this might be 20 passes of lather just sitting in the bowl right there. But the brush is flexing that first 30% pretty easily and comfortably. However, I do feel kind of the scrubbiness, and it's possible that this particular razor is exacerbating that. So I think maybe tomorrow I should, if I want to use this brush, I should pick a smooth razor. And I don't need to work the second and third passes of lather into my face as much as I am. I just enjoy the feel of the lather, and I'm also giving the brush not more exercise, that kind of thing. Well, I think I finally managed to keep adding water to the brush where I don't need to keep adding any more here on the third pass. I think I'm pretty good. This is the final cut with the final cut. There are probably other blades with this razor that might not give me that kind of tenderness. But the lather is working very well here. Very nice glide and movement with the razor. The cold water rinse on the razor itself is very soothing to my skin. As the razor moves across it, it's almost like that device that you see a boxer get put on a swollen eye or something. I I can definitely feel that edge, and it's a little tenuous. It's not being very chatty in terms of audio, but it is feeling, I'm just kind of feeling the edge here in a way that I don't feel it with other razors like the Wolfman, that Timeless Bronze I think I used it with, the Flexi from Pearl. We're all smoother than the Final Cut for me with this blade. I have used some Black Ship Grooming scents that were very low in strength. It wasn't the case with this one. This was a nice medium strength soap, and it was present throughout the shave and very, very enjoyable. I don't have a lot of these fruity kind of scents, but I'm glad I have this one now. And I just like their artwork. You know, kind of cartoony, kind of not. Not funny cartoony, but just, I don't know, I like it. Kind of modern, kind of not. Well, I showed you how much lather I have left over. Tons and tons. That last rinse, I was very glad to use the cool water. It did soothe. I do have some nice slickness left on my skin by the lather. Tried to wash it away as best I could. I do have pretty clean water, pretty soft water here at this location. And what am I going to put on? It's got to be a balm. I don't feel like going to find another balm. So what I'm going to use is this Sensitive 5-in-1 by Aqua Velva. It is a very good quality balm. I would use the Scarn because the Sterling's nice quality too. But I'm going to use it. I use it when maybe I have a more mild soap, to where I could really, where the cologne type scent of the Scarn wouldn't maybe clash with the fruitiness here. And this is a neat cologne type, a little bit of woodsy, but not really much woodsy. Spicy, woodsy. It really has kind of gone with any soap that I've used it after. It's a nice general purpose, pleasant scent. All right, there we go, guys. That is it for today. This is the second use of the big bore brush. So let me clean it off. Yeah, that is really working well. The kind of woodsy, spicy nature of that balm is kind of understated, but it's echoing so nicely after the citrusy, fruity, you know, mango lemon type thing that was a part of the soap. And after a good rinsing in the bowl here, and waited until the water ran clear, got to get that with a thick knot like this, got to get that soap, that lather out of the core of the knot. It'll eat away at the bristles and cause bristle loss if you don't. And then over to the towel. I mainly do fairly gentle stropping. Some guys, when they're breaking in a boar brush, they'll get vigorous with circles and things like that. I tend to be more conservative, and I do more Karate Kid type up and down movements, and I'll rotate a quarter turn, do the same thing. That's mostly what I do. And then I'll spread it out with my fingers just to encourage good airflow to the center of the knot. And we're seeing more outflyers now than we did after the first time. So this guy's going to expand at the very least out to that point. He'll just keep expanding. Man, that's going to be a good brush. Created a thread on our wet shaving about the break-in that several of us are doing with this brush, because we all kind of received it within the same time frame here in the US. The European folks got it a little sooner than we did. But everybody's posting what kind of break-in they're doing and how it's feeling, that kind of thing. So if you're curious, head on over to Reddit, look for our wet shaving, and look for the MOAR BOAR. We're called, and I think did they write it on there? No, they didn't. MOAR BOAR, MOAR BOAR, because this is a big bore brush. You know, that's kind of the code word for this brush. And if you search for that, you'll see the 3. And if you're interested in watching how the brush is coming along with other people, and several guys are doing photos with each shave, that kind of thing. I'm only going to do photos if I can take a photo of it in its dry state. Because right now, after the shave, you're not able to see the curls of the splits very well. They're still kind of moist and they're still kind of sticking together. And so if I ever take a picture of this, it'll be before my shave tomorrow, you know, that kind of scenario. I'll try to remember to do that, but I may fail. But I will show you it after each shave just here in the video, and we'll gradually watch it be able to open up. Big old boar brush. I don't know if I'm going to use it consecutively every day. Sometimes it's nice to, in your normal rotation, if you can do every other day, then it'll give your boar brush a chance to dry before your next shave. And so that I think that's probably best if you can do that. But of course, we know in the history of our forefathers and grandfathers and that sort of thing, that sometimes they only had one brush and it was a boar and they just used it every day. And most of the time it was thinner, and so it probably dried quicker. But you don't have to let it dry before you use it again. But one thing you really have to do is what I said earlier: rinse really well to get all the lather out of the knot. And then you don't have to worry about that causing any problems. I continue to really enjoy the combo of the fruitiness of the Tortuga soap with the Aqua Velva 5-in-1. That's surprising me how well-rounded that whole two things coming together to make something really quite nice. All right. I did end up only using 23 milliliters of water, but not really, because I did keep adding it to the brush from the trickle kind of thing, and then I ended up with a ton of lather. And so I'm not even going to record the water I used in this in my database here, because it's not accurate in terms of trying to reproduce this kind of lather. This was just kind of a Wild West. We're going to overload on purpose so that we make sure that we have plenty of lather, and I certainly did. So wow. That would be interesting. Wouldn't it be funny? Maybe tomorrow I'll load my normal amount. And wouldn't it be funny if that whole thing, that typical thing with a young boar where you have to go back before each pass, what if that was only the first use? Wouldn't that be funny? Where whatever break-in method I'm using is working, and all of a sudden on the third use, I'm able to just load normally and be fine. You know, that would be funny. That would be worth a try. We'll see if we can do that. All right, guys, it's been great being with you. Thank you so much for watching. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves, having fun with this big old boar brush. And the scent was wonderful on the soap. The final cut was a little bit more rough feeling than especially the 40 style Super Speed, and then most of the other razors that I've tried this blade in. So he kind of takes a back seat regarding this blade, but I've used him with other blades, and he is a worthy purchase if you're in the market for a fairly inexpensive adjustable razor. Take care, guys.